It's a tempo plenty to start things off. Top card goes to the bottom, round number 7 underway. Wijaya will draw a card. Sandsep Citadel is where he'll start. He'll pass things back over to Lapping. Lapping will draw a card. So he's got a Temple of Enlightenment and a Windswept Heath over there.
4x Elspeth Sun's champion.
He's not messing around.
Not 1, 4.
He'll sacrifice his Windswept Heath very quickly while Lapping. Figure out what land he wants to search up. Plains are, or forest, excuse me, are the options. He'll go with a forest. And we'll see if he's got a play to make here in just a moment.
Imagine this is Fleecemane Lion time.
You nailed it. There is the 3-3 for 2. Go back Wijaya's way. Wijaya with the Land Over Waste, and he will cast Bioblight right away to get that off the table. Having to take 1 damage in the process. Does not want that line to be around.
Yeah, it doesn't want to mess around. This is a start that could be, for example, Abzan aggro, and you don't want to play into something like Abzan Charm next turn.
Fleecemane Lion to draw here for Lapping. He'll play a Temple of Enlightenment to kick things off. Take a look at the top card. Top card may or may not be staying on top. We will see. Looks like it will stay. And now there is a Fleecemane Lion and a passing of the turn. We'll go back Wijaya's way for his 3rd turn of the game. He'll draw to copy a Siege Rhino. Does he have a 3rd land to play? He doesn't, it looks like. Just a Bioblight and a passing of the turn. Lapping kept his card on top. It was a copy of Courser of Krufix, so that's his draw step for the turn. He'll play that right now. We'll take a look at the top card of his deck here in just a moment. It is a Plane, so he's found a land as well. He'll trigger the Courser, gain a life, go up to 20. And we'll have to see the top card of his deck here in just a moment.
Pretty big hit there. I don't think Alexander had another land in hand.
I don't think so either. We'll pass the turn back. We will get that top card turned over, and there is a copy of And Hostilities.
Your classic Fleecemane Lion, Courser, Krufix, and Hostilities deck. Pretty standard stuff.
Well, what happens here, this is the giveaway now. Vidi casting a Thoughtseize. You see Elspeth, you see Vanishing Light, Reality Shift, and Vermaz, King of Ereskos. No idea what Vidi's going to take. See if Vidi wants to maybe take the unfamiliar bird here with Reality Shift. Don't see this one a lot in Standard. I think it'll make its way into things eventually. Pongify, other cards like that have just seen play over time. It's not exactly Pongify, obviously, but cards like this have seen play before.
Yeah, it's flexible. You know, it's good at removing a huge thing on the other side of the table, fizzling removal spells on your side.
It is interesting to note it does exile the creature, doesn't destroy, as we've seen with effects like that before. Elspeth, the top card. Here comes Courser for 2. Wijaya down to 14, pass the turn back. Still on the hunt for lands is Vidi. Hasn't found one yet. All he can do is pass the turn back.
Lots of Elspeths here for Alexander.
It is an Elspeth party. Vidi will draw. He has found a land, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep, it's number 3.
It is the mighty Windswept Heath.
And Vidi was right about to have to discard a hand size too, so it's a
Time
big one.
Yeah, definitely on time. Nice thing here for Vidi too is that he's got an idea of all the contents in Alexander's hand because of the Courser. So he knows what he has to worry about. The question is, can he beat those cards? Elspeth the draw here, top card. We'll see in a second. Reality Shift. And Wijaya is going to sacrifice his Windswept Heath. Looks like he stopped his opponent in the draw step. Perhaps a Hero's Downfall headed that way.
To which I believe Alexander will respond with Reality Shift.
Oh, one can only hope.
That 2/2 is on the house.
There is a forest.
Which is really important for Alexander here too, because it allows him to burn off the Reality Shift that I'm assuming he does not want to draw here as well.
There is Hero's Downfall, which I will have to take 1 to cast it. Reality Shift will occur.
Huzzah.
And now it's time to manifest.
And I think they are asking if the next card down gets revealed.
Does he get to see this one? Yes. Courser of Grufix does make for some fun times, doesn't it?
Yep. If you are really interested in knowing the nuances of Magic's rules as it pertains to where cards are oriented while they are being drawn or revealed, if you are just passionate about the rules.
And there's a manifest creature. Hero's Downfall done resolving. This top card, I don't believe that we see this now. Okay. You can see Alexander's hand and Hostilities, Banishing Light, a couple copies of Elspeth over there. He's just stuck on lands right now, so we'll go Vidi's way. Vidi draws a Courser.
Get a little bit more power.
He'll deploy the Courser.
He could have really taken advantage while Vidi was stumbling.
Yeah. Vidi's trying to catch up now, though. There's a Swamp on the top of the deck. It'll come into play. Siege Round will be the draw next turn. Pass that turn back. See what Lapping draws here. It's a Temple of Plenty. That can maybe chain him into another land. Take a look at the top card. It's a Reality Shift. That'll go to the bottom. Vidi knows what the manifest creature is. That part's easy. Here's Banishing Light to take care of the Courser. Here's an attack for 2. Wijaya is going to go down to 10. Wijaya will draw. There's the Siege Rhino. See if he wants to go with the Rhino or a Courser. He does take the Rhino option.
Rhino's a little risky because if Alexander finds land number 6, that's an easy Elspeth and minus.
He didn't find land number 6. He found Banishing Light number 2. That's not bad either.
I don't know if he wants to use a Banishing Light here when it's so attractive to try to get to Elspeth, but...
I'd answer that question.
Yeah, there you go.
Head back Wijaya's way. Take a draw step. Read those bones. See if he can figure something out now. It's just going to be another Rhino. He's up to 14. Lapping's down to 14. Tie game all of a sudden. Both players just fumbling and stumbling around, though.
These Rhino triggers do give Vidi some breathing space here. Hopefully he can chain together some lands and start getting to his own expensive stuff.
Well, Alexander would prefer for that not to happen, so he'll untap. He can see if he can find land number 6 again. How about a Fleeceman line instead? There is the Fleeceman line. That'll join the party. And we head back Wijaya's way. He'll draw a copy of Elspeth. Everybody's got Elspeth.
Yep. And now this is a tricky spot for Vidi because if he taps out for his Courser, that's a window for Alexander to go monstrous with Fleeceman line. And he already knows about the end hostilities in hand. So it's sort of an awkward spot here for Vidi.
Little trample damage here. Lapping will take 2. Looks like Vidi wants to go the Abzan Charm route. Get that Fleeceman line off the table. Pass the turn back. Lapping will draw. There's land number 6. It's a Windswept Heath. Now he's going to rain down some Elspeths.
Yep, he's got 3 to work with here, so he can be very aggressive in minusing or even risking Elspeth inside of combat.
Looks like he's just going to play Elspeth, minus it very quickly. No real surprise there. See if Wijaya can find a way to work through all of these Elspeths. It's going to be pretty tough, especially with his land situation.
And he knows that he can't just, cast Hero's Downfall and be done with it because there's so many that he saw if those Courser reveals.
Now, he does have 2 copies of Hero's Downfall in hand. That's not so bad. Let's see what this will net. Perhaps it's time to read the bones. It is. So Vidi's going to lose 2, get the opportunity to scry 2, and then, of course, draw 2. Urborg among the cards he's looking at right now, so that can be a land if you'd like it to be. He immediately takes those cards. And now here's Seder Wayfinder. 3 of those in his deck. So that's a change that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, we do not see much of this card. Probably implies that he's got a heavy delve package going on. Things like Murderous Cut and Tassiger on the sideboard.
Yeah, 1 main deck Tassiger, 2 copies of Murderous Cut.
Yep.
A little bit of a different take. Feels very Gerard-esque. Except Gerard likes to play blue cards where VD is playing white ones.
Yeah.
I suppose VD thinks that Siege Rhino is good.
It's a powerful card.
Bold.
Good enough to play.
What you lose by doing this, of course, is a card like Dig Through Time.
Yeah.
Ashiok, too. 3 soldier tokens. Here's another Elspeth. We're getting aggressive with these Elspeths now.
I think that Alexander's plan here is just try to get to the emblem as fast as he possibly can, which I actually don't mind here because, you kind of get the sense that just using Elspeth turn after turn against an opponent who's been stalled on lands for so long is probably not going to work.
Well, Wijaya's got an Elspeth of his own, so now we're going to have a little Elspeth war. 3 soldiers here, along with the Seder Wayfinder on Wijaya's side. On Lapping side, he's got an Elspeth on 5, 6 soldier tokens in play, bunch of lands. He'll attack. Everything's going to go towards Elspeth. There are your blocks. Wijaya's Elspeth's going to go down to 3. 3 more soldiers brought in here for Lapping. His Elspeth goes up to 6. There's a Temple. Take a look at the top card. It'll stay on top very quickly. And we'll go Wijaya's way. Wijaya will quickly untap and take a draw here. It's a Forest.
You get the sense that VD has the resources in hand to turn the corner here.
Feels that way.
He can downfall, he can produce a blocker, he has an answer to the next Elspeth, and plenty of leftovers to work with in the event that Alexander is forced to cast End Hostilities.
He'll start by moving his Elspeth up. 3 soldier tokens in. Elspeth goes up to 4. Temple of Silence here for Wijaya. He'll scry. Top card's an Obzon Charm. Don't know if he's looking for something better than that. Is a random draw better than Obzon Charm? It's hard to believe that it is.
Probably not. Alexander might have some weird creature in his deck because we've seen a pretty weird collection of creatures so far, and Obzon Charm's a good removal spell. And if nothing comes up, you can always cash it in for 2 cards.
Looks like it's time for Hero's Downfall to get Elspeth off the table, and it is. I'll keep in mind as well, Wijaya does have 2 copies of End Hostilities in his deck, so if we get to a situation where he needs to reset things, both players have access to that as well.
Yeah.
There are the blocks. Elspeth moves down to 2. Wijaya already ready to give him the 3 soldier tokens if he wants them. There is that Elspeth. The elevator goes up. 3 soldier tokens.
And this is really, this is Alexander's last punch. You can see there's a Courser left over that's easy for VD to kill. The 3 Elspeths down, so only 1 left in the list. And not that much power really left over. There's the 4 copies of Soul of Theros, I suppose.
Yeah, VD's made a nice, pretty nice comeback here.
Oh, for sure.
Siege Rhino, of course, buying him some time. There's Courser, top card. Temple of Malady. That's going to come in, trigger Scry and trigger the Courser. Gain a little life up to 13. Take a look at the top card. Obzon Charm. Is this one better or worse than a random draw?
It is some amount on diminishing returns. The second one in this spot a lot worse than the first one is.
Well, he's keeping it. We're passing it over. Lapping will draw. Copy of Temple of Plenty. There's a Courser. Take a look at the top card. It's a Windswept Teeth. That'll come into play. Trigger the Courser, gain a life. Up to 12 goes Alexander. Top card is the 4th Elspeth. If the first 3 couldn't do it, can the 4th one?
I think it's going to be tough. VD just has, he's up so many cards at this point.
Obzon Specialty.
And he's got his own Elspeth as well.
We're going back Lapping's way. Excuse me, we're going back Wijaya's way, but he took the opportunity to cast this Obzon Charm, so he's going to draw an Obzon Charm. We'll see what the other card he draws is. Elspeth. Top card, Llanowar Wastes. That'll be the draw for the turn. What's after that? Windswept Teeth.
Good stuff.
Everybody loves Elspeth.
Way to shuffle.
Yeah.
case he's not feeling what he's about to draw with the Courser.
Well, we'll see what that is in just a second. Bile-Blight, you think he's feeling that?
Probably.
I think he might be feeling
Good insurance policy. It's a little awkward with his own Elspeth in play, but still prevents a lot of disaster from happening.
I think insurance policy is the best way to describe the card, just in case anything crazy happens. Vidi looking to maybe get into the red zone, feeling a little frisky. There are your blocks. Soldiers will trade with soldiers. Elspeth's going up to 4.
In any case, he doesn't have to make a decision right now on one round. He wants Bile-Blight. You can allow Alexander to take his turn, and then if he's feeling it, shuffle before he draws, or he can just take it as a draw step.
Oh, but of course. Just some of the control that Fetch Lands plus Courser gives you as a player.
It's a lot of subtle advantage, a lot of nickel and dime stuff, but it all adds up.
On top of the deck for Alexander is a Banishing Light. There's Elspeth again. 4th one of the game here for Lapping, so I would recommend he doesn't draw another one.
Good call.
Might have to have a conversation.
Good strategy.
Utterend's going to take care of this one. Planeswalker's not a problem for Vidi's build of this deck.
Nope. Mixture of Heroes Downfall and Utterend.
Cleared that out of the way real easy.
There was some concern when this card got previewed that it was going to be another Heroes Downfall. We were going to be playing in a, text boxes don't matter sort of format. 2 colors and 4 mana is a very different animal than 3 mana and 1 color. That said, this deck still has times of saying, I don't really care what you draw very much. I've got some clean answers no matter what.
It does happen on occasion. Not as much as I think people may have. I don't think as much as people thought would happen, but with Utterend too, 4 mana is a lot of mana.
Yeah, 4 mana and 2 colors is very different than Heroes Downfall.
To me, that's just a good card.
Right.
That you can have be legal. Here's Bile-Blight. Take care of the Courser. Creatures will trade off like crazy. Wijaya's Elspeth, I have to imagine, going to be going up here in just a moment.
I think so too.
Yep. 3 more soldiers coming.
Now we're sort of hitting the next phase of the game where Vidi's up on resources by quite a bit. It will probably take him a long time to win the game because Alexander's got some defenses and hostilities still floating around there, but you get the feeling that Alexander has to draw very, very well to make it a game from this spot.
Banishing Light was the draw step. Not the best draw we've ever seen. Here's a Temple. But it's not bad. It can take care of the Elspeth that's out there or the Courser. So there is Banishing Light to take care of Elspeth. And Lapping will just pass the turn back over to Wijaya. Wijaya will untap and draw here. Siege Rhino on top of the deck now. In come those soldier tokens along with the Courser. There's some trading. Soldier tokens will trade with each other. 3 damage will come across. Lapping's down to 9.
And because there was no chump block on the Courser, I think that's an indicator that Alex does not want to pull the trigger on hostilities just yet.
Yeah.
Which means that Vidi's probably going to try to do some other stuff, maybe draw some cards.
Maybe playing Elspeth.
Playing another Elspeth is great.
Yep.
Advance your board, and you don't care about end hostilities very much.
There is the Elspeth. Tick it up. 3 soldiers. Kick it back over to the opponent. Siege Rhino on top of the deck here for Wijaya. Lapping will draw. Looks like another copy of Banishing Light. He'll use that. But now we're getting to the point here where Banishing Light taking Elspeth is obviously a good thing, but Vidi's getting his value too with the 3 soldiers.
Yeah, it's just, you got an opponent who's sawed on lands with a lot of card advantage in their deck. Can you kill them before it takes over? And Alexander failed that this game.
And Hostilities wipes the board away, which again is not a bad turn. But Vidi's got all the cards now. There's a Siege Rhino. Little drain, little gain, 16-6 in favor of Wijaya. Here's Elspeth too. Doesn't have to crack that fetch land thanks to Urborg being in play, so we have to imagine that 3 soldiers will come in and Elspeth will take up to 5.
I think this may be the most Elspeths I've seen in a single game.
It's not even close. This is number 7. It's incredible. And there was once upon a time where if you played an Elspeth, the opponent just lost.
Yep.
It took 1. But the 7th one is going to get the job done. Vidianto Wijaya is going to win game number 1 here over Alexander Lapping. Abzan mid-range. Up a game here over Bant mid-range in a very Elspeth-laden affair.
Yep. But Vidi had Heroes, Downfalls, and Utter Ends in his deck, which helped a lot. Alexander didn't have nearly the level of card advantage that Vidi did, so once Vidi was able to answer the Elspeths, Alexander had no real backup plan.
Well, it is sideboard time, so we take a look at Alexander Lappings, and you have that in front of you, so I'll let you begin.
2 copies of Negate, 2 copies of Erase, a Deicide, a Bramaz, a Hornet Nest, 4 copies of Disdainful Stroke, 3 copies of Glare of Heresy, and a Pearl Lake Ancient. I really like Disdainful Stroke. I really like Glare of Heresy. I think the Pearl Lake Ancient is fine in this matchup, and I think the 2 copies of Negate as well. So some good options.
Other side here, End Hostilities. 2 Glare of Heresies, 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Read the Bones, a Liliana Vest, a Garruk Apex Predator, and Utter End. 2 Rakshasa Death Dealers, 2 Drown Sorrows, and a Tassiger.
I really like Tassiger. I like all the removal, and honestly, I like all the Planeswalkers too, and the Thoughtseizes. So a lot in BD sideboard for this matchup. The game's going to go on for so long that I basically like anything that draws cards, anything that's powerful, or anything that answers Alexander's play on a 1-for-1 basis. All those cards are good, and BD has a bunch of different options.
A lot of really good options here for VD. I think the sideboard for VD gets a lot better than it does for Alexander.
I agree. And I think this matchup is pretty solid for VD to begin with. Just because of Abzan Charm, Read the Bones, and Thoughtseize. That's a pretty big edge that VD has in the matchup.
And we've seen Abzan do this to other mid-range decks before.
Yes.
In the battle mid-range decks, it seems as though Abzan is typically king due to all the cards that it can draw and how efficient its threats are.
It's very hard to find a specific permanent to randomly beat them because of Heroes, Downfall, and Utter End. That covers a lot of your bases. And it's hard to outdraw them because they have access to Read the Bones and Abzan Charm. So it's a tough recipe for a lot of mid-range decks to handle. And you saw Alexander there. His deck had half beat down and half control over the course of the game. And Vidi was able to just sit back, draw some cards, and handle each wave of the deck.
Well, my friends, Season 3 of the Open Series schedule we announced last week when we were in Houston. If you missed it, you'll see that we'll start things off in Charlotte for a Modern Grand Prix.
Very excited about that. Charlotte, we had a great Grand Prix there a couple of years back, attendance-wise. Modern, a very well-received format, as we know from the Grand Prix in Richmond last year, so very excited. Indianapolis, Baltimore, Chicago for the first time. Those will all be standard. That takes us through the middle of July. As we head further down the line, a standard Open Series in Richmond, a Modern in DC, standard Grand Prix in London, August 14th through 16th. We'll have more information for that coming down the line. On a Legacy Open Series in Charlotte, August 22nd and 23rd. And then the Season 3 Invitational in New Jersey, standard for the Open Series, standard and Legacy as the Invitational formats, end of August, 28th through 30th. Me, you, and Matthias Hung.
And 1 fire alarm.
At least.
That's true. Maybe 2. Who even knows?
We have a bit of a track record at this point.
Now, when you and Matthias were staying in the room,
Yep.
that was in Jersey too, right?
Correct.
Nice. Nice. You know what? I give Jersey a lot of flack, but at least they keep it safe there.
We're very up to code. The smallest thing.
I think that's important. I think that's really important.
The alternative is pretty bad. Gotta say, fire alarm going off kind of stinks. What's worse? Fire starts and alarm doesn't go off.
That's right.
That's much worse.
That is worst case scenario.
Right.
So you know what? I give you a lot of flack, but at least your codes have been met. All the safety hazards are there. I would just prefer not to test them out when we go.
Sure. Hopefully, everything will cooperate.
It's like in school when you had to do a tornado drill. Did you have those in school?
I did not come from a place where we had tornado drills.
I had tornado drills in school where you had to sit underneath your desk at school, at which point I really began to question everything.
Yep.
Because how is that going to save me? I don't buy it.
Well, I guess the risk is something collapses on you and being under your desk might protect your head from something. I don't know.
I would actually just run home. That was my plan.
That's a good recipe for getting swept up in the tornado.
That's true. That's true. I'm not saying I thought it through very well. I'm just saying that was my plan. If the tornado ever came, everything that we had practiced, I would throw out the window and just start running to my parents' house. Wasn't that far away. I believed I could get there before the tornado.
I'm surprised. I am really surprised that Cleveland has tornado drills. That surprises me.
We call it, they're bluffs.
Sure.
See, because tornadoes definitely happen around Northeast and middle of Ohio. It's true. But we've had like tornado warnings and all that stuff. Never actually had one when I was growing up. Never happened ever. They're always bluffing. It's always a lie. But again, better safe than sorry. So that's fine.
Spontaneous industrial accident drill. Totally understand Cleveland having some of those.
I think
for sure.
Is that supposed to be an insult?
No, I'm just saying I would totally understand if they had one of those.
Okay. And we probably do. We had those. We had fire drills or whatever. Yeah,
Yep.
we had those. I think we had one other one in school too. But the tornado drill was always the worst one because whenever we had to do it, the teachers knew obviously, but they just sprung it on the students, and it's like, come on.
But there's only one way to make you prepare for it, which is to surprise you. If they tell them in advance it's coming, it doesn't really simulate the experience of there's suddenly something where people have to respond.
But we responded in anger. It's like, I don't want to do this. It's not like, oh my God, there's a tornado. It was just like, this is a stupid, annoying noise.
If they had their behavior modified by what made the children angry, then they would just be feeding them candy all day long. No one would learn anything. That can't be how we judge these sort of things.
Is that really that bad if they feed us candy all day long?
Pretty bad.
Would that be bad?
Pretty bad.
All right. That's why I'm not in education.
Neither am I, but I know that much.
That's why I do this. I educate our viewers on education.
Right.
That's
And
what
a
I
number
do.
of other topics. Not just education.
We're useful like that. We can provide so much for so little.
I've seen a lot in my 33 years, man. I have a lot of wisdom to dispense. And as I get older, there's only going to be more of it.
That's good. That's good. That means more rants
More rants,
and more wisdom for our viewers at home.
more disappointment.
True.
Disappointment really important.
You have to let people know that's part of life.
Yep.
People thought that Liam Neeson beat the wolf. Sorry, got some bad news for you.
I guess unless you actually watched through the credits. That's so mind-blowing to me because why? All right, you watch a Marvel movie. You understand at the end there's going to be something.
Yep.
Or you watch a movie where there's an anticipation of sequels or a trilogy. You stay through the credits because you know there's going to be some tease at the end. That's fine. Liam Neeson fights a wolf in the tundra. That doesn't feel like there's a sequel. That's sort of a one and done.
Oh, you think so?
He wins or he loses. There's no sequel to
Sure.
this. So why not just show the full thing?
Apparently, at the end, after the credits, I believe it's him and the wolf both kind of laying there. They've slayed each other.
Right. Like I didn't stay through the credits when I watched Lincoln because that didn't feel like a movie where there's no Lincoln 2. You know what I mean? It's sort of wrapped up.
There's nothing else to come there?
Right.
No, there's no more.
We kind of saw what there was to see.
Oh, okay.
So if there was some teaser through the spoiler, I wouldn't have seen it.
Gotcha. So
Through the end credits, rather. Excuse me.
don't stay after the credits for Lincoln. You're wasting your time.
I assume so.
You're not sure. You didn't do it.
Didn't feel like a movie where there was going to be a sequel.
Here is the thought seize. A fleece mane lion, a courser of crew fix, the big nest, the hornet's nest, another fleece mane lion, along with the planes and a windswept heath.
Bringing in Hornet Nest against Obzon is ambitious, to say the least.
Not sure I love it in this
VD
matchup.
can play the game in such a way he doesn't really need to attack. He might have brought in sweepers. His deck plays with Bioblight. It's just hard for me to believe that this card's going to be very good in the games most of the time.
I don't think it's ever going to do what you want it to do.
Right.
Most of the time when someone gets them with a hornet's nest, it involves Court of Calling, honestly. Or it's against a hyper-aggressive deck that can't afford to attack into it, and VD's deck is neither of these things. Fleece Mane Lion, the selection there for Wijaya. But the other Fleece Mane Lion will come down on turn 2 here for lapping.
This is kind of the issue that a lot of mid-range decks have against Obzon. You can either try to beat them down fast before they can get their shop set up. That's a pretty good game plan. You can go way over the top with things like Ugin, for example, and try to overpower them that way. But if you try to meet Obzon in the middle, it's going to be really hard to win. They just play that game better than any other deck in Standard.
Feels a lot like Jund in previous formats, too. If you try to go toe-to-toe with them instead of going over or under, you just couldn't beat them.
You gotta go underneath them or over them, but trying to collide in the middle, their cards are just so good for that kind of fight.
Now, Lapping does have some really good cards in the matchup. A card like Solteros is really good against Obzon, but again, trying to fight on the same ground as this deck seems very difficult to do.
And just Alexander has these draw steps that don't line up the right way. He has a handful of creatures, and then he draws and hostilities, for example. And he's got to try to maneuver the game in such a place where all this lines up, and that's really hard to do.
Well, Corsair of Crucifix action here for lapping. Top card's a Temple of Plenty. Vidianto with just a Windswept Teeth and passing the turn back. So Temple of Plenty is the draw. Disdainful Stroke on top of the deck. There's a Temple. Looks like we might leave that on top. That could be a good draw. Here's an attack for 5. Wijaya's already down to 9. He's under the gun here.
Yep, this is the good draw here from Alexander, which is just having a curve of creatures backed up by some counter spells. That could be a winning recipe.
VD might play a Temple. Yep, he will. Top card. Stays on top.
This is a pretty good spot for Alexander because there's a very good chance that the negate lines up with the play this turn, and then the Disdainful Stroke might line up with VD's play next turn. Now he needs a second blue mana. That's the problem here.
Which he doesn't have, so he plays the planes off the top of his deck.
But Alexander could close out this game before VD does much of anything.
Lapping refusing to activate the monstrosity on Fleeceman line. Wants to leave the counter magic up, which I will draw. It's a copy of Llanowar Waste. Vita's in a real rock and a hard place right now. He just got beaten down this game.
Yep.
Siege Rhino gets countered. Bioblade doesn't do much of anything. It's a real troublesome spot.
I suppose he can Thought Seize. I don't think he has enough color mana to Thought Seize, take the copy of Disdainful Stroke, resolve Siege Rhino, and gum up the works. I think he has too many pain lands in play. He has a Windswept Heath. He has a Llanowar Waste. I just don't think he can do it.
Temple of Mystery is the draw. Temple of Mystery is on top. Play that one off the top of the deck. Gain a life with the Corsair. We'll scry here. Soul of Theros. That was probably staying. Here's the attack. Wijaya gonna hope for a mistake here, and he can't do anything to get out of this.
Yeah, and that's, you saw a winning recipe there from Alexander, which is go underneath. Had a quick curve of creatures, some counter spells to back it up. BD's draw was not that smooth, and now we're going on to game 3.
Yeah.
That's in stark contrast to game 1, where Alexander was drawing half of column A, half of column B, and couldn't convert it into a winning recipe.
Well, a winning recipe is what he found there for game number 2, which means we're heading to game number 3 in just a moment. We'll talk about season 4 of the Open Series. We announced, again, season 3 and season 4 last week in Houston. Talked about season 3 after game 1. We'll talk about season 4 right now.
Yeah, it starts in September with a Modern Open in Cincinnati, Standard in Worcester, a Standard Open Series in Milwaukee. Then we go back to Indianapolis, October 3rd and the 4th. Very excited to go back to that city as always. Atlanta for the first time in 2015, October 10th and 11th. That will be Standard. Legacy in St. Louis 2 weeks later. A Modern Open in Dallas. Standard Open back in Philadelphia, November 7th and 8th. A limited Grand Prix in Atlanta, November 13th through 15th. A Legacy Open Series in New Jersey, which should be huge. Standard Open in Denver. Haven't been to Denver in a very long time. We're coming December 5th and 6th. The Season 4 Invitational, once again in Seattle, December 11th through 13th. Standard for the Open Series. Standard and Modern as the Invitational format. Me, you, Matthias in the booth. And then, of course, to close out the year, the Players' Championship in Roanoke, Virginia, December 19th and 20th.
Some people very happy that you did not spoil the ending of Lincoln. So thank you.
Yeah.
That really means a lot.
It is a bit of a cliffhanger, but many people do know how it ends.
I, for one, do not. So go take a watch of that movie. Daniel Day-Lewis, I believe, the actor.
A master.
Yeah, he's really good.
A master at his
He's
craft.
really good. See, unlike Liam Neeson, Daniel Day-Lewis does not accept every role.
I know, he's selective.
He picks and chooses what he will destroy.
Artistic credibility.
Well, okay, if you were an actor, what would you do? Would you just take all the roles as much as you can, Channing Tatum style, and get that money? Or you kind of selectively choose what you want to do?
I don't know, because I've never been presented with that kind of money in my life, so I don't know what it would do to me or my perception of what I should be doing with my time.
Sure.
I would like to think that I would be selective. Because just, being one of the voice actors in the Chipmunks movie or whatever these people have to do to make ends meet, that would really be depressing. I would like to be selective.
A male stripper in Magic Mike?
That'd be fine.
Yeah?
That's actually not too bad. There's just some other roles that I would like to not participate.
Have you seen Channing Tatum in G.I. Joe? It could be you.
First, I don't know who that is. Second, absolutely not.
It's good. That's good.
G.I. Joe?
It's hard to watch.
No.
If you enjoyed the G.I. Joes as a kid,
I did.
then stay away. It's a disgrace. There's no ending to ruin here. It's just a very bad movie.
Yeah.
That's all. I think I would just go off. I would just accept all rules, no matter what they are.
You strike me as the type.
Just kind of going off. You know, the Black Eyed Peas of movies. That's what I would do. Where the Black Eyed Peas are just like, yeah, we're just going to keep cranking out records. Who even cares?
The Kevin Hart.
Yes, exactly. The Dane Cook.
Yeah.
Just going to just keep chaining off until people hate me, and then I will disappear forever. That's my strategy.
I would hope to be selective, but who knows?
It's a tough road.
I got to pay rent too, you know? I don't know. It's hard for me to judge.
Exactly. What if you're selective and then one of your movies flops? That's game.
Right. Could be game.
Sandstep Citadel to start here for Vidi. A Temple of Plenty to start here for Alexander.
Then I had to do some mixture of off-Broadway shows and take a job at Starbucks and whatever. Could be rough.
It does seem really difficult.
Could be rough.
A swamp there for Vidi. That's a second land. Lapping with a flooded strand. And now a Fleeceman line. See if Vidi has the answer to this. This card caused a lot of trouble in the second game. Isn't able to search up an island, though.
Yep, there is three copies of Flooded Strand in this list, alongside one island. So it is more of a green-white splash blue deck.
For sure.
But post-board, he wants a lot of blue mana because he has access to so many counterspells.
There's Courser for Vidi. Top card is Knobs on Charm. A convenient little answer to that line that's in play. Lapping will draw. Copy of Banishing Light. Temple of Enlightenment in hand. So he does have a blue source of mana. The problem here, of course, is that it enters the battlefield tapped. No real great attacks here for Alexander, so he's just going to play another Fleeceman line and hope that his opponent does not have Bile-Blight.
This could get really ugly.
Siege Rhino on top of the deck now. The window is certainly open here for Wijaya for a real beating.
I think that play from Alexander is totally fine. I don't think he can just say go there with a Fleeceman line in his hand. It's just not worth that much. So he is risking the Bile-Blight here, but I think it's a good risk.
I think it's a good risk, too. There's Llanowar Waste. That'll trigger the Courser. He's just got to be aggressive.
Yes.
He really has no choice. There's a Siege Rhino.
Fud.
Tough to be aggressive through that thing.
Maximum tonnage.
Little gain, a little drain. Pass that turn back. Lapping will draw planes. He'll play a Temple of Plenty, however. Scry here.
You see these negates in Alexander's hand. His mission here has to be get ahead on the board and get to untap with negate at the ready.
Just like last game.
Exactly. Until he gets to that spot, he's at a disadvantage to win this game.
Here's 3 mana. Looks like it might be time to banish some light. It is. So Siege Rhino's gone. This does allow him to attack with both Feastmanes if he'd like, since either one would die, but he's just going to hold the brakes here. Top card's a Forest.
Interesting to hold back on either. I think Alexander is happy to trade 3 damage to Vidi to risk 2 damage on the way back.
He's just got to be the aggressor, I think.
Yeah.
Thoughts he's on top of the deck now.
Yeah, this is one of those role assessment things where I know that Alexander's deck has a lot of late game action. He's got 4 copies of Elspeth in his main deck, but he is the beatdown here. His late game is nowhere near as good as Vidi's.
Yeah, it's not even close. We just saw game 1, a game where he played 4 Elspeths and lost.
Right.
That just kind of really tells the story.
And that's a card that's typically deemed to be pretty powerful against Abzan. It's one of the cards you would want in the matchup. Alexander had the full play set, and he just gave Vidi too much time, and Vidi could work around it all.
The line goes monstrous. The passing of the turn. Vidi going to play a Thoughtseize here. Wants to see the hand, wants to see the negate, wants to see the Elspeth, wants to see the other negate. Those are the options here for Wijaya. Temple of Enlightenment, the land in hand. So Wijaya will record the contents, of course take 2 for casting the Thoughtseize, and select a card here. Now that he knows about the counterspell, so he can play around them accordingly.
Yeah, now it's just a question of, does Elspeth matter? If Vidi doesn't have an immediate answer, that probably goes.
Temple, yes. Top card, Downfall. See if Wijaya wants to leave that there.
Well, the problem is now if he wants to tap out for that other Rhino, Alexander gets an opportunity to go monsters with the other Fleetsmith line, and then those pieces of spot removal just don't matter very much.
Looks like he's going to go with Murder's Cut. Get the other line off the table. Pass the turn back while the shields were down.
Yeah, it's his last window to do that. You know, you're playing against a guy with multiple negates in his hand, on top of a Fleetsmith line about to go monstrous, so you got to use your removal in that spot.
Temple of Enlightenment leaves the top card on top for Alexander very quickly. His draw step for the turn was Banishing Light to go along with those 2 negates. Fleetsmith line a 4/4 currently due to Monstrosity. It'll be tough to get that thing off the table. Wijaya going to very quickly draw his card, put a Windswept Teeth in thanks to the Courser. Windswept Teeth on top of the deck.
Surprised not to see a Banishing Light last turn from Alexander on the Siege Rhino. I understand Vidi's got some higher impact targets in the deck, but you could have cast it, still left up negate, still gotten in a good attack, and I just don't know what is the long-term plan here otherwise.
There's the plains off the Heath. So we'll see a new top card here for Courser in just a moment. Though I agree with your assessment there. What is the game plan otherwise?
Yes, this monstrous Fleetsmith line is annoying for Vidi, certainly, but it's not like he can't win the game through this. A second Siege Rhino, and suddenly he's on the offensive.
Well, speak of the devil. And it shall appear. There is a second Siege Rhino. Can't negate that. So some drain and gain as usual here with the Rhino. Wijaya with an Abzan Charm. Hero's Downfall in hand at the ready, just in case anything goes too badly. Top card of the deck is End Hostilities.
Now that would explain Alexander electing not to Banishing Light the Siege Rhino last turn.
I agree.
Totally fine play now.
It's combo.
Vidi's got a lot of light to work with, but it's possible Fleecemane Lion just, now with all the creatures cleared out, this could go all the way.
It's tough for Abzan. Looks like Vidi's going to cash in his Abzan Charm. Draw some cards here.
If Alexander gets the next turn, he's got 2 negates.
So 2 cards coming. One of them was Llanowar Waste. Take a draw here with Wijaya for his turn. Abzan Charm. Time to chain him off. Seen this before. He needs some help. 1 is an Urborg. 2 is an Abzan Charm. Yeah, might as well cast that one too. Shields are down.
He's got plenty of life to play with for the time being.
Yep. Satyr Wayfinder. Satyr Wayfinder. Now there's the Wayfinder. Let's turn over some cards. Sandsep Citadel is what he gets to take. Thoughtseize, Courser, and Abzan Charm will go to the bin. 2 of those Abzan Charms cost 3 life because he had to use a Pain Land for them in addition to the 2 life it cost to actually cast them. That's not going to stop old Fleecemane Line from trucking on in.
And Vidianto just glutted with a hand of removal spells right now.
And Lapping has 3 copies of Negate in hand.
And Vidi, what he really needs now is one of his 4/5s. Tassiger, Siege Rhino, something like that.
Tassiger just got turned over thanks to the Wayfinder. Sandstorm Citadel will go in hand. But Tassiger could have saved him here,
Yes.
or at least started to help him. There's a Citadel. You can see Vidi's hand. Not a lot going on. Though the Seder Wayfinder is going to come into the red zone here. We're going to knock Lapping down to 9. This game has taken a very interesting shift.
For sure.
Force the draw. That'll come into play here for Alexander. There's an attack here for 4. Is it time to chump block? Looks like it is. Pass it back. Wijaya will draw. Read the bones. Doesn't look thrilled that that's the draw step. In most cases in this matchup, I imagine he would be happy. That Negate will take care of that. Pass that turn back.
I love the use of Negate right there from Alexander because he knows Alexander is also aware of the same fact. Vidi needs a 4/5, and he can't negate a 4/5.
Yep.
So he's got to keep him off of drawing cards at this point.
Here's the attack. It looks like perhaps he may have passed the turn before attacking. Boy, that's tough. There's a Forest. Maybe playing a little too quickly was Lapping. Now he'll attack. There's your block. Draw the card, will Wijaya. Another land. Pass the turn back. Lapping will draw. There's a Courser. That'll resolve. Oof, disdainful stroke. That can't corner 4/5.
That's a big deal for Vidi. It's got to be this turn because now Tassic or Siege Rhino, those aren't draws next turn.
There's Murderous Cut to get that off the table. Turn that face down. Take a draw. It's an important draw. Elspeth. That gets negated just like every other spell. There's a land. Also gets countered by Disdainful Stroke. He's in a situation where he just has to cast these cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he hopes that Alexander might be saving it for something else.
Yeah.
You got to at least try to resolve it. Mana is not a consideration.
Disdainful Stroke's the draw. In for 4. Wijaya goes down to 4. He gets one more draw step here. It's a copy of Temple of Malady. There's the hand, and that's going to do it. Alexander Lapping's going to win this game and this match here over Vidianto Wijaya. 2-1. Bat mid-range will take care of Abzan mid-range in what feels like a little bit of an upset.
That did, though, you can see a very classic mid-range style of building the deck there, where Alexander is kind of doing a mixture of things game 1, hoping that his cards line up the right way. Post-board, he gets to convert his deck into something much more specific. He was able to turn into a deck with a pretty good curve of creatures, backed up by counter spells. Much better game plan than what we saw out of him out of game 1.
Impressive win. This Bat mid-range deck, obviously a brew. 6-1.
Yes, and after game 1, I was not that impressed.
No, me either.
But post-board, a game plan of that curve of creatures, especially Fleecemane line, backed up with counter spells, still having end hostilities in the deck, so if you ever go monstrous with Fleecemane Lion, that's a devastating 1-2 punch. We saw that in game 3.
I did not expect Lapping to get the job done, especially after sideboard. Vidi's deck gets so good.